So hello everyone. So welcome back to Uncaught Exception mini sessions episode 9. We're almost 10. So for tonight or for this session, we have RJ and Arnelle as presenters. So we will go first with RJ's sharing session. So take it away, RJ.
Thank you, Faye. Good evening, everyone. So tonight I'll be talking about how to create a video call web application using Agora.io. So let's get started. So there are four main things that uh, it four positive things that you can take away from Agora.io. First is it's low latency, so it's like real time talking to another person. And then China firewall. So Agora is um, widely used in China as well for live games. So there's no, unlike Google Hangouts or other sites that are blocked due to the China firewall, it's not affected by that. And it's dev friendly. Their docs are very um, dev friendly, and it's free for uh, 10,000 minutes per month. So here are some of the marketing good points from Agora. So it's an intelligent network, hyper scalable, mission critical reliability, access to all users. So basically, you don't need to set up media server or um, uh, your own video conferencing server. Agora does that for you. So you only need to use their SDK in order to create an app. So here are the steps. First, you need to create an Agora.io account. It's free. So here's the link if you want to create one. And then you create a new project. So you just go to click create new project, and then from there you will obtain an API ID and secret. There are two authentication mechanisms. The first one is the more secure one, and the other one is the not so secure one. So since it's not using token or key, in order for you to join a session or video call. So here are some of the packages that you can check. This will be the one that I will be using right now. And for the more secure mechanism of authentication, you may use this Agora Access Token package or SDK. You can implement it in a separate server or a token server. Then some of the useful docs for tonight's discussion. So there are three main things that you can, three main objects of Agora RTC SDK. The first one is the Agora RTC, so it's the main entry point for all functions. It's like the global object of the Agora. And then that's where you create the client object. So client object is the major functions of a video call. You can control if you can join a channel or leave a channel, create a stream, your local stream, or subscribe to remote streams or streams from other participants, and then the event handling if someone leaves or someone joins. Um, that's where the function, the event listeners are. And then you have the stream object, which defines the behavior of a stream. So, for example, if you stop the stream or pause a stream or play the stream, set configurations if you want to have a high resolution or low resolution stream. You can configure that in the stream object. So let's get started with the demo. So apparently there are still people who are using Sublime right now, and I'm one of them. Um, so here is a simple boilerplate for tonight's demo. So I have prepared an HTML layout already. So this is the local stream container div. This is where the my local stream is going to be rendered, the or myself, and then the remote streams. This will be the streams of the other participants. So the first step would be to import the Agora script. So I just retrieve the CDN packet, CDN JavaScript, and then this is where the logic goes. So the styles for just basic styles, boilerplate for tonight's demo, and then some helper functions that could be very helpful for tonight's demo. So this will be, I'll just uh, print the error logs in the console. So this is the handle fail. So this is for the adding of remote stream and then removal of remote stream. So there's just some DOM manipulation. Not using very fancy frameworks like Vue or React or Angular. Just vanilla JS for tonight's demo. So there are 4 steps to create a simple video call. So the first would be to create the client object, and then the stream object, and then joining a channel, and then handling events. So the first step would be to create a client object by invoking Agora RTC.create client. So let's do that now. So this function accepts an object, and the object contains 2 important parameters. First one is the mode. So there are 2 modes you can choose for RTC if you want to communicate for communication mode, while live for broadcast mode. So for RTC mode, there are up to 17 participants that can communicate, that can see each other and talk to each other. While for the live, you can have 17 hosts, or let's say participants who can talk and see each other. But you can have a million subscribers who can watch the streams. So for now, let's just use the RTC. And we have codec. So this is the video codec. Um, there are 2 supported codecs for RTC in Agora RTC. That's VP8 and H.264. So usually H.264 is for Safari or Mac users, but upon testing, it seems that the more viable option is VP8. So even if there are more, there are more, even if H.264 is more widely supported among most browsers than VP8. And the next step would be to initialize the client by passing the app ID. So this is the app ID. So this is how simple it is. Just add the app ID there. So to get the app ID, you go to console.agora.io and retrieve your app ID here. So just copy that and then just paste it here. I'm currently using an app that is not secure. So you'll see it in a moment when I try to join a channel. So for client.join, there are 4 parameters. 5 parameters. First one would be the app token, the channel name, and the user ID, and then the success callback, and the fail callback. So you can set app token as null since we're not. This app is not secure, so you can just leave it as null. And then channel name, you can write any channel name. So basically, you just join any channels. The channel is available every time. You just need to choose one. So for example, for tonight's demo, we'll be inputting like this. And then the user ID, you can choose either null or you can set your own user ID. If you put null, this is long by the way, so it's numeric. You can choose null so that Agora does it for you. And then the success callback and the handle fail callback. So I'll just use my helper function I created earlier. So the success callback requires a UID as the parameter. Now that you've joined the channel, this is where you will do the following. Create the stream, initialize the stream, play the stream, and then publish local video feed. So local stream. So this is how you create a stream, and then it accepts an object, and with the following keys, video, you can set it to true if you want a video call, audio, true. You can set it to false if you just want an audio call. You can also set screen if you want to share screen. So for now, let's just have this. And then what's next? Initialize the stream. Local stream. So this is how you initialize the stream. So you just call init, and then it accepts a uh, success callback, and then the fail callback. So I'll just call handle fail here. Upon initializing the method, the stream will request for camera and microphone permissions. So after you have given that permissions, once granted, you can start rendering the local feed or your local stream. Local stream play. So yeah, as you can see, the input is this one. This is where the video is going to be attached. So that's how you play the local stream. And then in order for others to receive your stream, you just publish it. So client.publish. Publish your local stream and handle errors by calling the fail callback. And then I think that's pretty much it for this one. So this one I'm referring to earlier. So that's how simple it is to create an Agora session. So since we're done with the joining to channel, let's proceed to event listeners. So this listens events emitted by remote users. So for example, someone joins or someone leaves, or for example, someone got disconnected. So you'll receive an event. So for now, I'll be talking about the three important events that is for tonight's demo. So that would be when someone joins and someone leaves, and if you subscribe to a stream. So that would be stream added, stream subscribe, and then stream remove or clearly. So let's start with stream add.
Excuse me, RJ. Before you proceed, I think your audio quality is better if you don't put your mic near your mouth.
Sorry.
Thank you.
I'll just keep my voice louder. So stream added, and then the handler. So receives an event, and when so when someone publishes, you get stream added event. So usually you would subscribe to that stream so that you can get the stream. Subscribe, then stream, and they'll fail. So client.on. So upon calling this subscribe method, upon excuse me, sorry for yeah, na ko'y meeting yeah. So stream subscribe. So when you call this function, you get this event, and then get let's call a handler again. So for now, let's extract the stream and then the stream ID, and then we'll play that stream. So let's play that stream. Then let's get the stream ID. So this is the stream object. So stream.get ID. So since ID is numeric, let's just cast it to string. Since we will attach it to the DOM, this would be the ID. So this time let's add a video stream ID, and then stream.play. So this is like just what we did earlier, just that we subscribe to the stream and then play it on our web page. Then another would be client ons and someone leaves. So for someone leaves using a button click. So the formal way of leaving. So for example, click leave button. Then for this one, not so formal. For example, you close the browser. So for tonight's demo, let's just assume that we will be using this one and this one, and the handling is just the same. So I'll just create a function under leaving users. So it still receives an event just like what we did earlier. So let's just get the stream, get stream ID. Still the same thing here. And since it's leaving, we close the stream. This is for memory, deallocate memory. Then we remove the video stream, so provided with the stream ID. So removes video from the screen. So basically that's it. So I think we can try it. I'll try that. Am I missing something? Let me see for a moment. Handle failed. join 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Sorry, there's no fail callback. Wala. So I hope it works. Then it's not working. Oh, it's working pala. So now you can see that it asks for my permissions. Then there, you can see that I already joined the call, the channel, and then I can duplicate another tab so that I can see another video. So there, remote stream, and I can add another one. So still the same. So I think that's it for the demo. Oh, sorry. I haven't shown you the if someone leaves. So for example, um, this person left the meeting or the call, so the stream gets removed. So basically, that's how simple it is to use Agora.io. But it's not, although it has the good qualities of being developer friendly, being free, or having the ease of China firewall access. It still has its own limitations, own set of limitations. So, for example, the bandwidth consumption is really high. So, since you will be downloading all remote streams during a call, so for example, if there are 5 to 10 participants, you would also download the 5 streams. So it's like playing 5 to 10 YouTube videos, and then so it's not that optimized. So it's good for people who are using at least 30 Mbps or and above um, internet connection. So if you're using your pocket Wi-Fi or mobile data, I think it's not gonna be. Yeah, you're never gonna be able to join the meeting or the conference call. And for Safari, there's always has been this autoplay issue with Safari. So the first time you load the page, sometimes it won't play the audio. And another thing is it doesn't support dual stream. So for example, dual stream is like if your internet connection is good, you can use the high resolution stream. Or your if your video call is if your internet quality is low, so you can subscribe to the low resolution stream instead. But for Safari, that's not the case. You'll always be subscribing to the higher resolution. So for this case, it's better to create an iOS app, native iOS app. And another thing with this is that it's not that perfect. Although they claim in the page that most browsers are supported, but there are still some caveats and browser compatibility issues upon testing. So it's just one of Agora's ecosystem of video call tools. So there are other um, items as well, like Agora RTM. This is the real-time messaging. So you can use this as for your chat feature. And then Agora recording, you can record your video. You can have a separate recording server to save your videos. So currently there are 4, Alibaba, Amazon, S3, and Tencent. Or you can manage on-premise or your own Linux server. So I think that's it for my discussion. Thank you very much for listening, and have a nice night.
Wow!
So cool. Thanks, RJ. That was a really good presentation.
Thank you.
So yeah, that's awesome. Bye. So the next
Wait,
presenter,
wait,
yeah. What?
questions.
Questions? Okay.
Does anyone
Wait.
have questions?
Sorry.
I'll try my best.
Sorry. So question and answer portion. So who's gonna start?
I have a question. So
Okay,
like
yeah, man.
the 30 Mbps speed requirement is a bit steep, and then are there any like alternative to this then to the service that you know of, and then um why would we even consider using Agora with that like steep bandwidth requirement?
Mm, I think it's more on, for example, you'd like to use it um, for live stream, or for example, you have a video game and then you just have one host, so you can only subscribe to one stream, and then there could be 1,000 users who can view that. So as discussed earlier, you can choose the live mode. So that's one of the good things. Like it's for like Zoom webinar. So for example, in Zoom webinar, there can be just 3 or 2 hosts, and then the other people will just listen to that webinar. They don't need to see your face, so you don't need to publish your stream or show your camera, for example. So there's no need for to handle such a large bandwidth consumption for that. So I was just calculating the 30 Mbps or 15 Mbps high speed for calculation on down how many megabytes per video every second you need to subscribe to. So if you're just using 2 or 3 hosts and then join 1,000 users or 1 million, I think they support million now. You can use Agora. And then what's the other question? For the alternative. So another alternative is that you can you can actually pass it to an RTMP stream. So for example, if you want to use Mux.com, a media server, so you can pass the stream there with an RTMP, and then the Agora will pass it to the CDN stream. So, and then the other users will just subscribe to the CDN stream. So basically, you're just there's this thing called transcoding. So the video from the Agora, they translate it to be accessible to a certain CDN. So unfortunately, when I tried that, it actually takes the latency is actually high because there is this calculation on the transcoding of the video, and then another one would be setting it to the CDN. So it takes around 20 seconds. So most of the CDN streams are actually in that aspect. So I think it's safe to say that it's competitive enough with other market.
Okay, thank you.
Uh,
Any other questions, guys? Ice, Terence, Kuya Arnelle, RJ? I don't have any questions from myself. So
um, yes, I have one question regarding the live stream. So the RTC is when everyone's connected, they can talk to each other, right? And then live is when users are just listening to the stream, for example. And so how does live work? Is it still using like the same client SDK, but they just don't publish their video stream?
Correct.
Does it also support like um, what like live streaming to like services like YouTube, for example, or is that when you use like the RTMP service? Or
Um, if you like to transfer it to YouTube, I think that's the time you use the RTMP.
I see.
Since I think
Okay.
YouTube will accept an RTMP URL, but I haven't tried
Oh,
it yet.
okay. Cool. Sounds interesting. Thank you. That's all my questions.
Thank you.
that's all. No other questions, guys? Because we will proceed to the next presenter or sharer, Arnelle. We're ready for you.
Okay, it's me. I'm going to remove everyone. Hello everyone. So for my session, I'll be sharing about Lighthouse CI. So Lighthouse CI. So what is Lighthouse CI? So if you're familiar, so if you're if you've built, if you've been into web development before and building front-end websites and stuff, you might have heard of Lighthouse, which is it's in DevTools. You use it to measure the performance of your site in terms of like speed and like best practices, some accessibility and other metrics. So Lighthouse is already available in DevTools. Lighthouse CI makes it available like in other places, like for example from their CLI and also in CI servers like GitHub Actions or Travis CI and stuff. So it's composed of primarily two tools or components. One is like the CLI component where you run commands to measure metrics, for example, and the other one is like the Lighthouse CI server. So we will take a look at both. So for this demo, we'll take a look at a sample site. So this is what the site looks like. It's just a boilerplate site that I got from somewhere. I just added this large image. So how do we use Lighthouse CI? So first, to start using it, we need to install its npm package. So npm install it globally, Lighthouse CI, but I already have it. So this gives you access to the lhci command. So let's see how we can use it. It has different commands available. So without like doing anything, just installing it, let's try running it right away. Auto run. So LHCI does three things basically. First is collect, which is the collect step. It's where it measures like how fast your site is, like what's the performance score, what's the accessibility score, etc. That's the collect step. Second one is assert. The assert step compares, so based on your scores, it makes assertions if it passes your certain thresholds. For example, you need like 90% performance score, so it will perform your current score based on that, and then it will fail if it doesn't meet the requirements. And finally, the upload step, which is it will upload your results to the CI server. So you can do that separately, or you can just use auto run, which will do everything for you. And let's try it. So you see it's running. We didn't do anything. We have no config yet. We just installed LHCI CLI globally and then run it right away. So this will fail because it's just using the default configs. So it will fail. It says that it can't find where the static site is. So we'll fix that right now. So to configure Lighthouse CI, we need a config file in our repo. We will call it lighthouse rc.js. So we just need to export our config file. So first, it's errors that it can't find the static site files. So consider adding this config. So we will do that. But instead of adding the flag, we'll put it in the config file. So in the Lighthouse RC config file. So static site's there. And for this particular boilerplate, the static site is in the underscore site folder. So we'll use underscore site. So let's save that and run the same command again. So you see now that it's able to find the config file. So it will now use the config file to run, to collect the metrics and do other things. Oh no, collect static site is not working. What's wrong? No, it's wrong. I forgot the extra nested collect key in the config file, and this should work now. Awkward silence while we're waiting. So basically, with just this config file, it will use the default config, which is documented here somewhere if I can find it. Assert, I think. So these are all the default config that Lighthouse CI will use. So as you can see, it's a lot. You don't have to worry about that unless you want to customize certain things. So okay, so it's now running. It doesn't take this long usually, but my system is slowing down right now because of screen sharing and video and like the video calls and stuff. So let's just see. So by default, Lighthouse will look at the static sites directory, aka our site folder, and then it will automatically look for the HTML files inside that folder and then collect like the metrics on all those pages. And by default, it will run 3 times on each of those pages to get like a correct like average or the average score for in each run, and then use that as the final score. So we'll just do this. Let's just wait. So if we don't want to run it 3 times, we can configure it again here. So we can do like number of runs is just 1, for example. Let's just do that next time to save time. And okay. And also, if you want, so as I mentioned, by default, it will look for everything, every page in the site directory. But if you want to measure just one page, for example, in this case, we will do that to speed up the demo also. You can pass a URL array, which will just be, for example, like the home page. So let's say we just want to measure the home page. So we can pass it here, and you can pass another page, for example, which we will do later. So you notice that in the runs, it has a port number for the local server. We don't have to use that here. Lighthouse CI will automatically add this for us when it runs. So we're almost there. Okay, this is the last page. So as I mentioned, it has 3 steps: collect, assert, and upload. This is still the collect step. It's when it's measuring the metrics for each page. So still collecting your scores. And final run. And then once it's done with the collect step, it will do the assert step, wherein it takes your scores and then compares it to the required scores. So here we see that it's failing in a lot of metrics. So we see that, so splash screen, I think this is for the PWA score, since our sample site is not a PWA, so it fails. So it can do things like this. And if you put this in your CI, for example, in your GitHub Actions, you can block like merging pull requests if they don't pass your required performance scores or like Lighthouse scores, stuff like that. So for demo purposes, we will just disable all the other metrics, categories. We will just, so this is how you customize the collect step. We can also customize the assert step. So everything is in the docs. So in the Lighthouse CI repo, there's a configuration docs where you basically see everything that you can configure and the different options. So here we will customize the assert step. For assertions, we can customize the category. So in Lighthouse, there are 5 categories. So performance, accessibility, best practices, PWA, and SEO. For our example, we will just run the performance metrics. Everything else we will disable, because, so we just turn them off like this. Another one is best practices, SEO, and PWA. So next time we run this, it will just test the homepage one time and just test for the and just assert the performance score. So let's see if it does what we want. Okay, while that's running, let's take a look at more options. Where is it? Let's start at the collect step. Collect. Where's the link here? So collect. Yes, you can. Okay, it's not really interesting. Let's go to the assert. I lost the link. Wait, I'm so sorry. Assert. Here's assert. So for assert, as I mentioned, it's using your default configs, but you can also use presets provided by Lighthouse CI. For example, if you want to run all the metrics, you can run a preset for Lighthouse All, or if you want only the recommended metrics or scores, or yeah, just collect the recommended criteria. Just use the Lighthouse recommended preset. And Lighthouse no PWA is just like Lighthouse recommended minus the PWA stuff. You can also provide a budgets file. This will enable the Lighthouse budgets feature. We might talk about that in the future. And here, the assertions, you can customize the assertion. For example, if you don't want to measure first contentful paint, you can disable it, or you can customize the minimum scores and everything for each individual metric if you want to go like very detailed in your assertions. So now it's running. So as you can see, it followed our config file. It's only running the home page once, and all our assertions are passing. I wonder why it shouldn't pass. I know why. It's because I forgot to build. Okay, let me build it one more time. So the reason why it should fail is I added a very large image in the home page, which is this one. This is a 4,000 pixel wide image, which should fail the performance score, but I forgot to build the site again. So let's try it again. And while we wait again, we will look at more configs. So assertions, and once it's done with the assertion step, if it fails, then it will fail your CI job. And finally, once it's done with the assert step, it goes to the upload step. So where is it? Where's the docs for the upload step? The upload step is when it does maybe one or two things. First is if it is configured to do so, it can update the status of your GitHub pull request or your GitHub commit to add like a success or fail status on your commit or pull request. So in order to do that, we have to provide a GitHub token later. And finally, if you want to upload your results to Lighthouse CI server, which I will show you like in a bit, we have to configure it here also with the server base URL and the server token, and that will give you like a historical data of all your previous CI runs. So as you push more commits into your repository, you can see how your scores have changed over time. So here, okay, moving back to our terminal, here we see only the performance category is asserted. You see that it fails because we have a very large image, and okay, that's fine for now. And what do we do next? Let's try adding it to our actual CI. So to do that, you can add a GitHub workflow. So to speed things up, we will just copy paste it and then add to GitHub workflow ci.yml and just paste it here. Okay, looks good. And I will push the changes. Add GitHub and Lighthouse RC. So the Lighthouse CI folder, it's auto-generated. It will contain like the results. We don't really need to include that to Git, so we can Git ignore it. That Lighthouse RC CI CI. So, oops. Okay, let's push it. Lighthouse CI. Push it to master. And so let's open our repo. So we see in the action, in GitHub Actions, it's running our Lighthouse CI job because we added the GitHub Actions workflow for it. So, okay, this will take maybe 2 minutes. I'm not sure. Okay, while we're waiting for this run, let's talk about the Lighthouse CI server. So the Lighthouse CI server it's basically like a different service that you self-host somewhere to like collect all your scores over time. So I mentioned it runs on your server somewhere, so you have to self-host it. If you have like a DigitalOcean Droplet or some other server, you can run it from there. How do you do that? So in the docs, there's a page for the server documentation. It looks like this, but we will see it later. You can run it manually with all these different configs, or you can just use the Docker image, which is what I will do. So I'm just going to connect to the server, and I can just, after I install Docker on the server, I can just copy paste this, run that here, and copy paste this, run that here, and that should be fine. But I already did that earlier. So here it's running now, and I can access it from here. So I added a domain, so stuff like that. So this is what like a fresh Lighthouse CI server looks like. You see there are no projects set up yet, and no reports yet. So we will see that later. Let's go back to our GitHub Actions. So you see it failed because the run failed. That's good. And let's do the other things. Let's add the GitHub token. Actually, no, let's do that later. Let's configure it so that it will upload the result to GitHub CI server also. So to do that, going back to our repo, we can just, so we already installed LHCI CLI globally, so we can just run LHCI wizard. So this will walk us through like what different configs we need. So new project, okay, new project. What's the URL of our LHCI server? So that should be this one. Paste that here. Would you like to name the project? Okay, LHCI demo. Where's the project code hosted? In GitHub. Okay. Which branch is the main branch? Master. So you see, it gives us these different configs. So the build token is what CI servers use to push new data, but the admin token, it allows you to like manipulate the data. Like for example, delete a report, for example, but don't use it. I've never really found a need for it. So let's just use the build token for now. And how do we use it? So in our Lighthouse RC config file again, we can configure upload, and upload accepts 2 things, actually 3 things token. Normally you won't put it hard coded like this, you read it from environment variables, but for this demo it's fine. Target, so let's look at the docs for target. What target does is it tells Lighthouse CI where will it upload the results. So by default it will use Lighthouse CI, which is a custom like Lighthouse CI server, but there's also temporary public storage. So if you're not running your own Lighthouse CI server like this, you have the option to like upload the report to another Lighthouse CI server that is being maintained by the Lighthouse team, but it's temporary. Your report will be lost like after a few days, I think, but it will just give you a link to see the report. But since we have our own Lighthouse CI server, we'll just use the LHCI target, paste that there, and the server base URL. So this is the URL to our server, as you see here, and that should be this one. So let's see. So we can test it here. So let's run it again. Add LHCI upload config. So let's trigger our CI again by pushing the changes to master. Now we wait. I hope this works. Actions. So it's running. How long did it take? 1 minute and 6 seconds. Good. What else? So okay. One thing to point out: if you're running your own Lighthouse CI server, it's by default not protected. So if they know the link, they can just access your Lighthouse CI server. But you can add like basic auth if you want some protection on your Lighthouse CI server. Okay, let's just wait for that action to finish. But this will fail because the assertion will fail, but that's fine. It will still upload because we already added the upload configs, so it will still upload. It's hopefully it still uploads to it still saves the results to our CI server here. So that's it. Process completed but failed. Let's look at our Lighthouse CI server. We see our new project here, which is LHCI demo. If we click on it, we see our results. So since we only had one commit yet, it will show like the results for every commit. We only have one data point here. You can see distributions. Currently, we are at 53 performance score. The others, we disabled them so that they don't matter. Let's try to fix it. So we see performance is failing because we have a very large image. Let's try to fix it real quick. Should be easy because this is a random image I got from Unsplash. Unsplash is using IMGix, which is an image hosting service. So we can just do things like width 300 and quality 80% and commit it. Optimize homepage image. So, let's try to push the fix for the performance problem. I hope I didn't make a typo. Yeah, should be good. And wait again. It will run again. And this time, this should pass. What else? What else is interesting? Yeah, I guess that's mostly it. But there's just one. After this job, there's one last thing that I need to show in the Lighthouse CI server. So it's running CI. So let's just look at it. Paramo pressure. So you can see all these interesting logs. And it's reading. We know it's using our config file because it's only running one time on the home page only instead of all the other pages. And it's done. Our resource processed. Checking assertions. All assertions are passing because we already fixed the image. And now it's saving the result to our Lighthouse CI server. And everything is good. So it's passing. If you go back to our Lighthouse CI server, you see it now it now added a new like data entry. We now have one perfect performance score, which is good. And one nice thing about this is you can actually see like the diffs. So you can see, for example, the report. The report This looks similar to what you see on Lighthouse in your DevTools. It will show like your scores, the other issues that you can fix, and things like that. That's the report. But another nice thing is the CI diff. So it will actually show you a diff of the scores compared to the last run. So here we see our current CI score is now 100, which is plus 47 like points compared to the previous run. Everything else is the same. It will show like because of this new commit, we cut down 500 milliseconds of first contentful paint. So you can track down things like this using the diff. Like you can see how each commit like improved or degraded like the performance and the other scores of your site. So that's pretty much it about, oops, I closed it. Pretty much it about Lighthouse CI. If you're running your own Lighthouse CI server, you can basically use it for all your different projects. You don't have to run one CI server for each project. They'll all just be listed here. And what else? So this is accessibility score, which is 100, which is good. You can see distribution, but for me, this timeline graph is more interesting and useful. You can see all the different scores here. Let's see the progressive web app. CI diff. Okay, still the same thing apparently. Yes. So that's it for me and Lighthouse CI and Lighthouse CI server. Do you have any questions?
Thank you very much, Kuya Arnelle. So, question and answer portion. Anybody has question? Seems like everyone is super familiar with Lighthouse.
Oh, didn't understand anything that I said.
Yeah, on the flip side, didn't understand anything.
Yes,
Questions, guys?
if you have no questions and if you're watching the stream, you can just comment in the future and we will take a look sometime when we see it.
So, I think that's it for this session. No questions, guys? Okay, so yeah, that's it for this session. So, for this episode, we have already shared about Agora, the real-time engagement platform for meaningful human connection. and then we have Kuya Arnelle shared about the Lighthouse CI and how it helps on the developing or making websites, web applications. So yeah, I guess that's it for now. So don't forget to subscribe and like this video if you find this helpful. And if anyone is interested to share something, I think you can slide DMs in either one of us. So hopefully. So yeah, bye-bye guys. Thank
Bye
you for
everyone.
spending your time with us.
Thank you.